Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining us and welcome to yet another episode of this continuing saga of Leaders Connect series. I am Daniel and
I am Essie Daniel.
thanks for joining us today as we look at public speaking made easy. I think most of us get goosebumps or butterflies in your stomachs when you're speaking in front of a big audience. And our goal today is to make it easier for you as well as for us to be able to speak in front of an audience without those goosebumps. And if they are there, they will not be noticeable. Let me start by asking you, Essie. When was the first time you spoke in front of a big crowd and how big was it?
That's a great question. I can't quite remember the very first time, but I think it was when I had attended a conference and I was given an opportunity to give a testimony. It was a youth conference. And so it wasn't as bad because I had gotten used to speaking in public in school, in elementary school, as we call it in Kenya. But the second time was in high school when I stood in front of about 800 girls and about 45 teachers.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, the first time I did that was I freaked out. But then I gathered courage and I was able to communicate what I needed to say. But it wasn't easy.
Well, thanks for sharing that and informing us that it wasn't easy. Same thing with me. The first time I spoke in an extended group of people was in high school. I was preaching that day. I still remember what I preached about. Unfortunately, none in my audience would probably remember because I was so muffled and so quiet. They had to strain to hear. But we live and learn. So, all that to say, when you're speaking in public, you need to know your audience. If you find yourself in a position of speaking in front of a group of people, there's usually a reason. So, before you begin, consider who you're speaking to and what they want or need to take away from your time addressing them. If you're speaking in front of friends and family, entertain them with stories and jokes and light jabs about loved ones. Mm-hmm. Just make sure you're considerate and you know who can take what kind of joke. On the other hand, if you're addressing professionals at a corporate event, teach and inspire them with your knowledge and passion. Just like speaking to a room full of kindergartners is different than speaking to a room full of high schoolers. Mm-hmm. Assess who is in the audience and adjust accordingly. Awesome. So the first point is knowing your audience. We will keep moving on. The second part is rehearsing, and I will invite this beautiful lady here to tell us about rehearsing, and she will also talk about practicing.
Thank you, Daniel. So if you have a big speech coming up, sometime every day, spare some time every day to rehearse it. Most importantly, you want to prepare main goals and focus on how you will word each and every one of those points. Mm-hmm. And you want to be sure that you do not walk away without communicating the main goal or the main point or the main message that you needed to deliver. So you want to practice when you're driving in the car. And I'll tell you why I chuckled there for a minute. Plus, you also want to practice when you're brushing your teeth or even at night while you're showering or whatever works for you. Practice, practice, practice until you get good at it. The reason I chuckled there when I said practice when you're driving or while you're in the car was because the right before COVID hit, we had started speaking in schools, public schools. And I remember one time engaging myself to speak in a middle school. And as I was driving there, I was nervous. I don't know why. For some reason, I was nervous because I've spoken to large crowds of people. But maybe it was the idea of I'm going to speak in a middle school where our kids go to school.
Mm-hmm.
And I started imagining all crazy ideas of what if there's that one teacher who probably wonders if I have taken the time to teach some of these things to our kids. Anyway, so as I was heading there, I realized I will win the battle if I'm really, really good at what I'm going to speak about. So I would stop at the traffic lights and I'm talking to myself. I'm rehearsing the points that I'm going to share and thinking of how I can present it in a more interesting way with a big voice and sometimes I would laugh at myself. So the drivers that were beside me, I'm thinking maybe they were looking at me and wondering that one is one of those ones that need to. Anyway, so practice while you're driving in the car. Or practice when you're brushing your teeth. Practice when you're showering. And any opportunity you get to practice whatever you are presenting, use that opportunity to get good. Mm-hmm. Next, we're going to talk about practicing with distractions. I know that could be very contradicting, especially to people like me, like myself here, who prefer to prepare or rather practice in silence. But remembering your lines is easy when you're alone in total silence. But what about when there are other sounds and people around? Practice while you're pushing your child on a swing at the playground, while you're walking your dog to the park, or while you have TV or some classical music in the background. Use these opportunities to practice when there is noise in the background and when there isn't. Use every opportunity that you can find to practice. All right, Daniel, what do you have for us?
Actually, I think you would be a better person to talk about being familiar with the environment. So go ahead.
All right. And then,
yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so if possible, you want to take the time to practice your speech in the venue where you will be giving it. I'll say that again. Practice your speech in the venue where you will be delivering it from. If it's not possible to physically get on that stage and walk around before you give your final speech or before you give your speech, then just spend some time in the room near the area where you will be speaking. This will help you get a feel for the room and channel the vibe that the space is giving off.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I knew that's... Anyway, so after you familiarize yourself with the environment and you're in the room, you want to take every opportunity to speak in front of an audience. Because rehearsing by yourself is great, but speaking in front of people is even better. So you can ask your friends and family if you can practice your speech while they're preparing dinner, getting ready for work, or getting ready in the morning. You have no idea how many Toastmaster speeches I've listened to. Ask your co-workers if you can practice during your coffee break as well. They'll probably be glad to get a break anyway. I mean, it doesn't really matter if they give you 100% of their attention, but just speaking in front of others is helpful. So you take every opportunity to speak in front of an audience. And after you do that, another very important point is ensuring that you practice your body language.
That's correct.
Why is that? Because nonverbal communication carries most of your message.
Mhm.
So practice your speech in a mirror and work on omitting nervous gestures.
Mhm.
So when you're giving your speech, you want to stand with both feet firmly on the ground and use your hands for modest gesturing.
Mhm.
Again, if I do this, you know who I'm talking about, right? So you don't want to be overly animated, but modest and moderate gesturing.
Mhm.
And when you get a chance, take a look at TED Talks. We had posted one earlier in our group. So whichever group you're on, if you want to check that, just look at the TED Talk that was posted there. If you need some help in boosting your confidence. And after this live, we'll be happy to share that with anyone who wants to see it. But it's very important to make sure that not just what you're saying, but how you're saying it is very, very important. Miss Essie,
Yes.
tell us about eye contact.
I love that. I love that. When I connect with you through eye contact, you feel like I'm talking to you, and it's easy for you to follow me and to want to reciprocate the same. And so many people ask me, what do I look at when I speak? Well, you have several options. You can either choose several people in the audience, and I learned this from Steve Gilliland when he's one of my mentors, and I have enjoyed being part of his mentorship. He said that you want to pick several people that are feeding your energy in the audience. And the first thing that you do when you stand on stage is identify those people. Make sure there's one on this side, make sure there's one on the back, one in the middle of the crowd or the audience, and one on the other side. Because every time you're looking around and you're connecting with that one person, and they are smiling at you or they are nodding, they are encouraging you to keep on giving, as opposed to when you're talking, when you turn to this person who has this closed eye body language, and they're probably even disconnected and wondering, what is Daniel talking about? So anyway, here it is again. We have several options. You can either choose several people in the audience to make eye contact with, or you can look around the perimeter of the back of the room. What do you want to do, or what you don't want to do is to look up. You do not want to look up, you do not want to look down, and you do not want to look at your hands. You want to come across as confident. Have you ever had a conversation with someone who was looking at you in the eyes? Of course, not staring, but they're looking at you, they're smiling, and they're nodding their heads. You feel you're connecting with that person. As a public speaker, you want to reciprocate that. You want to do the same. You want to engage your audience with eye contact. Daniel.
So the other thing that you want to do is slow it down. When you're anxious, we have the tendency to speak quickly.
Mm-hmm.
And when you've taken the time and energy to prepare and practice a speech, you want your words to make an impact to the audience. So practice speaking your words slower than you normally would. Remember that people want to see you succeed while you're speaking. But the more you rush, the more you turn them off.
Mm.
And in that spirit of slowing things down, you also want to take pauses. Don't be afraid of pauses, because similar to slowing down your speech, make it a point to take long pauses between points.
Mm-hmm.
Remember that when you're put on the spot, 3 seconds of silence can feel like 3 minutes.
That's true.
So hold your pauses for longer than you feel is appropriate. Okay,
That felt long.
exactly. But pausing can have great impact on emphasizing key points and emotionally connecting with your audience, giving them the chance to internalize your message.
Mhm.
Now, I would like to ask you to consider controversy alert. Consider President Obama, Barack Obama. Regardless of what you think of his politics, it is widely believed that he is one of the greatest orators of our time. And he pauses a lot
That's true.
in his speeches.
Yes, you sound like him.
So if you go quiet for a moment, anyway, if you go quiet for a moment and take a long, deep breath,
Mhm.
guess what? The audience will wait with you.
Yes.
Let me add, with bated breath, because they want to hear what's next.
Next. Mhm.
So on the other hand, you don't want to come across as lazy and just standing there and you don't like you're confused, you don't know what you want to say, but don't be afraid of pauses.
Mhm.
And then after that, project your voice.
Mhm.
Because some people have a voice that can naturally project to the back of the room.
Mhm.
And if you're not one of those people, practice speaking loudly and clearly. Don't yell though, not yelling, but loudly and clearly. We will have a video for you after this if you want to check with us, and we'll also post it on our different Facebook groups. So there is a video there that will tell you a little bit about that. And then one last thing before I hand over to Miss Essie for an extended period of time is use humor and emotion.
Mhm.
Self deprecating humor is usually something that everyone can chuckle at. But no matter your joke, you want to test it out with a few people to see what sort of reaction you get.
Kind of like a new recipe.
Pretty much, yeah.
Before serving it in a restaurant.
Another controversy alert. I'm a big fan of Family Guy. She doesn't like that. But one thing I learned about Seth MacFarlane is that his writers have to sit in a board. I don't know if they still do that anymore, but they have to test the joke and it has to get a number of people to laugh before it makes it into the script.
Oh, wow.
And Family Guy is $1 billion empire, just so you know. Also, don't be afraid of sharing your stories and experiences. Why is that? Because audiences appreciate a personal anecdote.
Mm-hmm.
As long as it stays on the track and does not trail off. So, before I trail off, let me ask Miss Essie here to talk to us about feedback.
Thank you, Daniel. And now you're getting me curious. Can we watch maybe one episode of Family Guy?
If you like crude humor, you will.
To be continued.
Let's not digress.
Conversation to be continued. But always watch for feedback and adapt to it. That is so, so important. So as you speak, watch the audience, engage their reactions. Stay flexible. If they're not laughing at that joke, don't keep on going and make the situation worse. Because once they tune out on you, it's going to be hard. It's going to take some time for you to bring them back. So if they seem bored, inject some humor. If they seem confused, reel in your message and repeat it in more simple terms. Have you seen that article? Is it an article? Yeah, it's an article actually where it was actually, I think, on Facebook, where there was a message that was written in this English. Up to today, I still don't believe that was English because there were big words and I could not even make out what the point was in that whole chapter, in that whole paragraph. So can you imagine if the person that was sharing this was addressing an audience and we would all be looking at him like, or we would just pull out our phones and we start planning our vacations because this guy is not considerate of us. He is not, we cannot connect with what he's talking about. So anyway, if your audience seem confused or lost, reel in your message and repeat it in more simple terms. All right, what's the next one? Ignore the
naysayers.
Ignore the naysayers. All right, sometimes your message won't click with everybody, and that's just the world that we live in, and that is okay. Even Jesus himself, I love the good book, the Bible. It guides me every day on how I live. But even in the good book, Jesus himself also had people that did not like him. There are people that did not connect with him. There are people that did not believe in him. And so you and I are not exempt from that. There are people that will just not click or connect with your message, and it is okay. But if you're saying something controversial that someone don't agree with, dismiss the furrowed brows and crossed arms, and focus your attention on the people who are visibly engaged. You see what he's doing? He is nodding. So instead of focusing on that guy who is and wondering what you're talking about, this guy here who is nodding and who seems visibly engaged and who seems to enjoy your presentation, and they are nodding yes at your words, guess what you want to do? Focus your attention on them as you slowly work towards moving on to a topic that will bring in the other people that may have disengaged.
Okay, so now those are the things to look for as you prepare your message or to speak in front of an audience. So when it comes to down to the rubber meeting the road, you want to start off on a great note. So think about it this way. How do you feel when someone starts a speech with, "Today, I'm going to talk to you about public speaking"? It doesn't really capture your attention, does it?
Today is here.
Exactly. So instead, start off by asking a question. Or start by sharing a statistic.
That's good.
Or an interesting anecdote. Or a concise quotation. Or, like Joel Osteen does, start with a joke. Right?
Stories, jokes, yeah.
Remember, whatever you say, you want your first words to capture everyone's attention. But then also, don't speak right away. You're there to speak, yes? But a lot of people start talking as soon as they step on stage. And it's because they're nervous. Can we get this over and done with? Let's get going. Let's go. This communicates insecurity and makes the audience feel awkward too. So instead, take a few moments to scan the room. Find your place. Take a deep breath. Take it all in. It might feel excruciating. Granted, that's true. But the audience will feel that you're more confident and in charge of the situation. And the more you practice, the easier it will become. Okay?
Awesome.
And use audiovisual aids wisely. You want to talk a little bit about that?
Sure. So if you're using audio, or rather if you're using visual images or visual aids, you want to make sure that that you use them sparingly. Don't overdo it. And you also want to make sure that they are simple things that your audience can connect with. Also, be sure that everyone in the audience can see them. Don't just make it visible or available to the people that are sitting close to the stage. For example, if I was to draw a diagram on a piece of paper, and then I present it, and only the people that are close to me can see it or can connect with it, then the people in the back will disconnect, and they'll probably start doing what we talked about earlier. They'll start planning their vacations and checking their phones and texting your friends. So if you want to share a statistics or whatever it is that you want to do, don't choose a detailed line graph or opt a big pie graph, or rather, how do I say this? Help me out.
So if you want to share a statistic, instead of choosing a detailed line graph that's very short and like very long, you want to make sure you have something big, like a big pie graph instead, or a bold bar chart, something that will catch the attention. And additionally, take time to test the equipment. Very important before you speak, so that you don't get caught up and distracted if your PowerPoint starts acting up.
Yeah.
Ever been in church and, well, we're going to present a song to you, and sound guy, bring it on. Awkward silence.
Yeah.
And we wait. And then they play track number 17 instead of 7. And at the end of it, you're just like, oh, forget it. But if you had practiced, if you had cued it at the right time, that would have been avoided. So use audiovisual aids wisely. And when you do that, when those things happen, sometimes you get nervous. You want to turn your nervousness into excitement, because signs of nervousness often present the same way that excitement does, right?
Yeah.
So you want to tap into your thoughts and remind yourself that symptoms such as sweaty hands and increased heart rate is just your body getting pumped, getting excited. And when in doubt, take a deep breath and remind yourself, I'm not nervous. I'm excited. I'm ready. I was born for this. Turn your nervousness into excitement. An important one, if you're doing a PowerPoint presentation especially, don't read directly unless you have to. Have you ever been to these places where someone is doing a PowerPoint presentation, but all the time it's behind us, and instead of talking to the audience, I'm right here looking at it and just reading directly? I mean, if that's what I was going to do, I might as well let them read and I stand here and ask any questions afterwards, right? Kind of like a movie.
Yeah.
Reading directly from a script or a slideshow can make your words seem impersonal, and it can also make you feel or seem less confident.
True.
So when you practice your speech, you know what you do? You use an outline with the main points written out in order. And whatever you do, don't write out every word you plan to say, because this can make you feel more overwhelmed than you have to be.
Yeah.
Okay? But there's one exception. And that exception is when delivering an eulogy. It's okay to write down every word and thought in detail, because delivering an eulogy at a funeral or memorial can be difficult. The speaker has the challenge of dealing with their own grief while simultaneously communicating to an audience in an effective, heartfelt way.
That's true.
And remember, eulogies are given to people who have a close connection with the bereaved. But here are some tips, though, when it comes to eulogies. And I know this is a difficult topic. You want to limit your speech to cover just 2 or 3 main points, because it's impossible to sum up a person's life in a few minutes.
True.
So don't even try. Okay? Don't worry about telling the story of a person's whole lifetime, and instead focus on major personality traits and the things that the person will be remembered for.
Mhm, mhm.
Okay? So, you want to share meaningful stories, anecdotes, and quotes, but then you also want to make it inspiring. Help the audience deal with the occasion and improve their outlook if possible. Okay? So that was a difficult part.
Oh yeah,
It was really tough.
it was. It was.
So, how about you tell us about specific speeches when
Sure.
accepting an award?
Nice.
So we go from one end to the other.
Mhm. Yep. Yep. So we've all seen even the best of actors and actors and actresses. Can you say that?
Actresses.
Actors and actresses get flustered as they accept an award. Why? Because it can be difficult. And here are some tips from Toastmasters International. I am a part of Toastmasters and I love it because it has helped me grow. It has helped me become a better communicator and sometimes even communicate your thoughts in 2 minutes. So that has been very, very, very helpful. If you haven't heard of Toastmasters, check it out. Go online and type Toastmasters and read all about them. You could find a club near you, or you could come and join our Speakers Club with the John Maxwell team. We have something similar and would love to have you. Anyway, here are some tips from Toastmasters. Show your personality. Your acceptance speech should come from the heart, and you always want to be yourself. That's why you won the award and nobody else. Number 2, you want to be gracious. Acknowledge the work done by your team as well as competitors and thank the organizations that selected you to receive the award. I've been to meetings or part of groups or committees where where the chairman takes the credit, yet it took the team for you to win that award or to accomplish that goal or to complete that project. And so make sure that you're thanking everybody else, those who participated, those who prayed, those who gave their time, even those that competed with you but did not get the award. All right, number 3, you want to show excitement. You don't have to shed tears or jump up and down, but it should be clear to the audience that you're happy that you won the award. All right? So show some excitement. All right, number 4, you want to be modest. Your acceptance speech should be heartfelt, but not self-congratulatory or congratulatory. It's based on where you are and who your preschool teacher was or which Oxford you went to. As he always tells me, I knew he was going to enjoy that. All right, number 5, rehearse it if possible. Rehearse it. If you know that you will be accepting an award, don't let the music play you out. Practice your speech with a timer and keep it within a set amount of time while making sure that you include all the people that you want to thank. Have you been to a meeting where the person who was on stage had not arranged their thoughts well, or they had not taken the time to practice, and they go on and they are long-winded until the technical bench or the technical team play a smooth classical music in the back to kind of tell the whoever is speaking it's time for you to leave or exit the stage. Don't be that person. Practice, rehearse, and make sure that you do not leave anyone behind that you ought to thank. All right, Daniel, you want to tell us about specific speeches Or
Yeah, let's do that. And before I forget, let me make sure that I give a shout out to my mom
yes.
and all my friends. And anyway,
I thought you were gonna say something more important than that. Anyway, we love our family.
yeah, we do. So there are specific speeches, like introducing speeches. It may be simple to you. It may seem simple, but introducing someone to speak can still be intimidating.
Very.
So, how do you do it? Here are some tips when you're delivering thoughtful speaker introductions. Number one, don't steal the show. Keep your introduction under 60 seconds and speak only on topics that are related to the speaker. Any additional announcements should be made at the end of the ceremony or the speech.
That's correct.
Don't steal anybody's thunder. Number two, grab the audience's attention with a humorous anecdote, an impressive milestone that the speaker has achieved, or an inspiring quote that you've heard from the speaker. You can briefly mention the topic that the speaker will be talking about as well, but don't reveal too much about their speech. And at the same time, establish the speaker's authority and expertise, because these will help solidify with the audience the speaker's credibility as a subject matter expert. Okay? So that's all about introductions, very brief and to the point. And finally, brethren, make sure you say thank you when you're done. Your audience gave you their time.
Yes.
And hopefully are giving you their applause. Hopefully.
That's right.
So thank them. It's a gift. Even the tough audiences that do not say anything or do not give you their applause, they still give you their time.
That's right.
Thank them. Thank them. And in that spirit, we want to thank you for hanging in there for the past 38 minutes. After this, we will post some of the materials that we used, some of the resources we used to put this together. So be sure to check our Facebook groups and our Facebook pages. And if you're watching on YouTube, go to Facebook and like us, and we will have those resources there for you. And before we forget, again, thank you so much. Thank you for taking the time out of your busy day to join us. We absolutely love getting to chat with you and hope that each of you learned something valuable.
Yeah.
And we also want to say congratulations on taking that step towards becoming a better and more effective public speaker. If you have any other questions or anything that we can help with, please feel free to reach out, whether during this broadcast or after the broadcast. You know where to find us. So feel free to reach out. We will do everything we can to make sure that you are successful. Miss Essie.
Yes.
You want to play us out?
Well, I want to also thank you very much for taking the time to be with us. May the Lord multiply your time. And if there's anything that we can do to help you become a better communicator, public speaker, do not hesitate to reach out. I know on the screen we have put it down that we are grateful that you're with us, but we are curious. Do you have any questions for us? Any questions that you would want us to answer before we finish? Feel free to type them out, and we will be looking at the screen just to see if there are any questions that you have for us. And before we do that, there's that statement that I love by Warren Buffett about becoming a good communicator. You remember it?
I'm trying to remember it, but I don't think I can't say I do.
Winking at a girl in the dark. There's no way we can live without sharing that. Go for it.
Go
So
ahead.
Warren Buffett says that it is very, very important for us or for everybody to learn how to communicate, how to arrange your thoughts, how to communicate well in word and in writing and also in speaking. And he says, if you're not a good communicator or communicator, you are like what?
Someone winking at a girl in the dark. Nobody will see it.
Exactly. That's correct. So let's become good communicators. Let's take the time to practice. Let's spend time thinking, what am I going to say at that birthday party? What am I going to say at when you're toasting, for whatever toast it is that you're toasting to? What speech are you going to say? What jokes are you going to share? And take the time to watch comedy, Family Guy, Simpsons.
Yep. The Simpsons, Family Guy, American Dad, all of the above.
Yes. So get good at it so that you can engage your audience. All right. Do we have any questions? Do you have any questions for us? All right. I cannot quite see all the pages that we are broadcasting on. And so what we will do, we will share the notes that we have promised to share, and kindly let us know if you have any questions and we'll respond to them. All right, let's see. I think I just saw one pop up here. All right. Yeah, we'll respond to that later. Once again, thank you so much for being with us tonight. It's always a joy to hang out with you. We are grateful for you. And if you have any questions, as Daniel said, our contact is on the screen. Save it and reach out to us. If you'd like to join our Speakers Club, let us know. Let us know. Remember, again, we talked about our Speakers Club being the Maxwell method of speaking, which is close to a Toastmasters. But the beauty of the Speakers Club, the Maxwell method of speaking, Speakers Club, is you get to learn the secrets that John Maxwell himself uses and he has used for years and years. Remember, we're talking about a mentor who has mentored many worldwide, and he is the #1 leadership guru in the world. So he's the best of the best. Wouldn't you want to learn from the best of the best? If that is you, join us. We would love to have you in our club as we grow together and become better communicators. God bless you. We love you, and we look forward to hearing from you.
Thank you, everybody.